Congratulations to the current administration. Give kudos where kudos is due. Some of y'all don't like to do that. I like to do that. The upcoming and incoming administration, President-elect Trump's team, current President Biden's team, was able to solidify a deal between Israel and Hamas. 14 months of fighting. And honestly, I would just lay out the facts, and then at the end, I'll just throw down some blame. I'll throw down the gauntlet. So Hamas throws an attack at a bunch of people at a festival, and the immediate attack seems to be unprovoked. Maybe you guys know more than I do, but the way the evidence was presented to me. And from there, they also took hostages back into Gaza with them. Israel, they didn't like that very much. Okay, they weren't a big fan of that very much. And with that, they actually, went in with tanks, troops, aircrafts, the whole shebang into the Gaza Strip to seemingly not only root out Hamas, but also to get their hostages back. Some of those hostages of which are American citizens. 14 months of fighting, a very brief ceasefire in the fall/early winter of last year, 2024. Didn't last very long, and they were right back at it fighting again. Little did we know, other than the folks who follow this stuff very closely, behind the scenes, President Biden and President-elect Trump's team, not him himself, but his team, have been working feverishly with the Israeli government and Hamas to work out a deal for a 6-week ceasefire, which would mean that Israel would put down their guns and Hamas would release in incremental steps hostages, some of them being American citizens. Kudos to making that thing happen. We can appreciate stuff like that very, very much. Jumping too far ahead of myself, we're going to do a bit of counterculture coffee fast forward. Get it from Walmart. We're doing this in the AeroPress today, so kind of let you guys know where I'm at. And we actually did grind this up before the video started in my vessel grinder, which is what I use whenever I go camping. I also like to just hand grind sometimes versus using my electric grinder. It just kind of improves the experience a bit. But here's the thing. I want to caution us to thinking that this is something that we need to 100% ignore, because I don't think it is. I think it's a good thing they were able to make this deal happen. Hopefully we can decrease the amount of money that we're having to send over there for support and all the other type of stuff. Not because I don't think we should just not help the rest of the world, but I do believe that when there is war, the amount of money we pump out to help, it just goes through the roof, whether that's not direct cash, but maybe through not NGOs, maybe through aid, maybe through weaponry, whatever. So hopefully that decreases and we can use that for American citizens. But number two, it's hopeful that this thing sticks, it holds, and that it can just decrease the amount of turmoil in the region, because this type of stuff just leads me to believe and makes me think about the possibility for major wars whenever we have small conflicts can turn into big conflicts. Now, I'm not saying that this could have been the next world war or anything like that. But what I am saying is that these little things, if ignored, they kind of just spiral and they kind of grow and they get a little bit bigger. Keep your eye on what's going on in Romania. Keep your eye what's still going on over there in Ukraine and Russia. Look what's going on in the Congo and all those type of things. And so I don't want us to become so laser focused on what's going on here that we don't see how what's going on in the rest of the world could affect us. If this deal falls apart, which I hope it doesn't, it can once again lead to us having to spend all sorts of money and all of that good stuff. But shifting this back over to what this means in regards to your prep and all of that good stuff, I think that, there are moments where we hope that these things stick together and we hope that these things are able to stay exactly how they're supposed to. But if people are disgruntled, things don't go as they plan, we should always prepare ourselves from an attack from the unknown. So, if, for instance, let's just say hypothetically, Israel were to renege on this deal, or it doesn't get fully approved, because I'm going to talk about the approval process here in a second. If it doesn't get fully approved, they renege on the deal, whatever, then that could cause turmoil, that can cause things to happen where people, that where the deal should have continued to go, it stops, and it can cause the terrorism that is over there to shift over here. I would hate to think that we brokered this deal. We finally got Hamas to say yes, and they were to renege, or the new administration were to renege in any type of way, and they start to bring the fight over here through lone wolves and that type of stuff. I don't want to see that. I know this fight is mostly a regional fight. It's a thing that's going on over there, and we don't necessarily need to concern ourselves with it. But I'm always thinking about that type of stuff. What if the American citizens that are still being held hostage there is confirmation that they were alive a few days ago, but what if they are not released, or what if they're harmed, or what if they, God forbid, they're killed? Does that drag us further into a fight? Because a lot of time, the upcoming administration says that they're more like doves when it comes to war, but I don't want them to become hawks when it comes to war, because in a sense, people like me, people younger than me mostly, into the fight, into situations where you have to now go over there to fight. This is where you need to ensure that you always keep things prepped for whatever the case may be. So, if you're the type of person that likes to keep extra ammo, yeah, I would say you do that as well. If you like to have extra TP, extra masks, extra ways to fortify your household itself, you should do that as well, because here's the next steps for that full approval process for this deal. So the deal was brokered between President-elect Trump's team, President Biden, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Hamas was the last piece of the puzzle that actually had to approve the deal, and they approved the deal, and it could go fully in effect starting Sunday. But first, Benjamin Netanyahu has to take this deal to his small team. We're just going to call it a war council, for lack of a better term. They have to give it an upvote. If it gets an upvote from them, then it proceeds to go to their version of like Congress or whatever, and it has to get an upvote from them to fully approve the deal. Any of those two measures could cause the deal to fall apart, even though it's highly unlikely. And then the last thing is any families that were affected by the terrorism attack in October of 2023, when Hamas actually attacked those people at that festival, they get an opportunity to protest the release of prisoners. Because yes, you heard that. The deal is, in exchange for a ceasefire, in exchange for the release of hostages, Hamas is getting a buttload of prisoners. I don't know how many. These are kind of some of the things that are up in the air, because the families that were affected by the terrorism attacks of October 2023, they get to protest, or they get to contest directly to the Supreme Court of Israel the release of those prisoners. Now, it's highly unlikely that the Supreme Court would stop it, because the prime minister in their version of Congress has a lot of power to release prisoners. It's almost kind of like here in the United States, the president's pardon power and commutation power is absolute, and it would be equivalent to families that were victims of a terrorism attack or murder here wanted to contest the commutation or the pardon of people here in the States, because they didn't like the fact that President Biden or President-elect Trump were about to release some people. The Supreme Court's not going to interject here because it's absolute. It's similar over there in Israel. But if it gets through all those hurdles and the deal is approved, then good to go. But I'm concerned about a couple of things. The deal sticking. Who the heck are these people getting released out of these Israeli prisons? Are they going to the Gaza Strip? Are they able to go other places? Who do they hold a grudge against? Is it Israel for bombing them for 14 months and against themselves because they were the ones that attacked? Is it against us for supporting Israel and lone wolf attacks? Keep your eyes open. Just don't let yourself go about your merry way without staying vigilant and paying attention to small details as this deal further and further spreads itself out. And pay attention to other stuff going on around the world as well. The falling apart of the Romania election for president is a big concern for me. And also, this bird flu thing, big concern for me. Get yourself some N95 masks. The Ukraine thing is still a big concern for me, although President-elect Trump says he's going to wrap this thing up day one of him being in office. We'll see how that goes as well. But I just want to caution you. Just don't take these things for granted. Don't assume that everything's always going to be A-okay. Even though this coffee is A-okay, okay? I don't know if I made a cup for y'all yet, and I've shit on my own coffee. There's been some coffees that haven't been good around here, and those would never see the light of day. If this is your first time stopping by, hit the like button. I like talking about things that we need to stay prepared for in our prep, survival. Also like talking about everyday carry, some man cave stuff, give life advice to young men, etc., etc. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. I need to go finish this cup because I just made it, and it looks good. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.